Ever wondered how the world of MMORPGs came into existence? Let's take a journey back in time to the dawn of the MMORPG universe. Picture this. It's the late 70s and early 80s. Computers are still a novelty, the internet is a distant dream, and the word MMORPG is yet to be coined. Yet the seeds of this incredibly popular genre were being sown. The first MMORPGs were quite different from the immersive, graphics-heavy games we know today. They were text-based adventures running on university mainframes. Players would command their characters by typing simple text commands, navigating through a virtual world described in words. Imagine reading a book, but you're also writing it as you go, sharing the authorship with countless other players. That's the essence of these early MMORPGs. These text-based games were born out of a marriage between computer programming and tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. The influence of these traditional RPGs is evident in the mechanics of the earliest MMORPGs. They introduced elements like character creation, experience points, and leveling up, which have since become staples of the genre. One name stands out in this era: MUD, or Multi-User Dungeon. This game, created by Roy Trubshaw and Richard Bartle at the University of Essex, is often hailed as the first true MMORPG. MUD set the template for the genre, with its text-based interface, multiplayer capabilities, and role-playing elements. The impact of these early games on the MMORPG landscape cannot be understated. They laid the groundwork for the genre, proving that virtual worlds could be shared and shaped by players. They showed that these games could be more than just mindless entertainment. They could be social platforms, creative outlets, and even a new form of storytelling. So, the early MMORPGs were text-based and heavily influenced by traditional RPGs, setting the stage for what was to come. The stage was set and the players were ready. The MMORPG genre was about to explode into the vibrant, diverse world we know today. But that's a story for another time. Now let's shift gears and talk about the pioneers who defined the genre. In the late 90s, a new era of gaming began to emerge. This was the era of graphical, massively multiplayer online role-playing games, or MMORPGs. Two games in particular, Ultima Online and EverQuest, made a significant impact, introducing the concept of a persistent online world to mainstream audiences. Ultima Online, launched in 1997, was a groundbreaking game developed by Origin Systems. It was crafted with a love for detail and an ambition to create a sprawling, immersive world. The game offered players a chance to live in a truly persistent world, where actions had consequences and the environment changed over time. This was a whole new experience for gamers, allowing them to interact with thousands of other players in real time, either cooperating or competing with them. Just a year later, in 1998, EverQuest hit the scene. Developed by Variant Interactive, EverQuest took the concept of a persistent world to a whole new level. It introduced the use of 3D graphics, making the gaming experience more immersive and visually stunning. The game was renowned for its complex quests and its focus on cooperative play, which required players to band together to take down tough enemies. This was a major shift from the primarily solo-oriented gameplay of earlier RPGs. Both of these games were instrumental in defining the MMORPG genre. They introduced the concept of virtual economies, where players could trade goods and services, as well as the notion of player versus player combat. These games also popularized the idea of character progression, where players could improve their characters over time, gaining new abilities and equipment. The success of Ultima Online and EverQuest sparked a wave of new MMORPGs. These games took the foundations laid by their predecessors and expanded upon them, adding new features and mechanics to further enhance the gaming experience. These games not only popularized the genre, but also established many of the conventions that we see in modern MMORPGs. As we moved into the new millennium, MMORPGs entered a golden age. This era, the early 2000s, was a time of explosive growth for the genre. It was during this period that we saw the emergence of two titans that would shape the MMORPG landscape for years to come: World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy IX. World of Warcraft, often referred to as WoW, burst onto the scene in 2004. It took the best parts of its predecessors, added its own unique spin, and crafted a world that was immersive, expansive, and full of adventure. WoW brought MMORPGs into the mainstream, capturing the imaginations of millions of players worldwide. It was a game that was easy to pick up, but offered depth and complexity for those who sought it. It was a game that allowed you to be whoever you wanted, to explore and conquer a world that felt alive and real. At around the same time, another game was making waves in the MMORPG world, Final Fantasy IX. As the first online entry in the long-running Final Fantasy series, it was a bold and daring move. Final Fantasy IX transported players to the world of Vana'diel, a world that was rich in lore and full of captivating stories. It was a game that offered a deep strategic combat system and a vast interconnected world to explore. It was a game that was as much about the journey as it was about the destination. These two games, World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy IX, were not only popular but they also pushed the envelope of what was possible in an MMORPG. They refined and expanded on the concepts introduced by their predecessors. They offered vast, immersive worlds, compelling stories, and deep strategic gameplay. They showed that MMORPGs could be more than just games. They could be living, breathing worlds. The early 2000s were a time of rapid expansion and innovation in the MMORPG genre. It was a time when the possibilities seemed endless, when the boundaries of what was possible were constantly being pushed. It was truly the golden age of MMORPGs. With the rise of the internet, a new business model emerged: free-to-play. This model revolutionized the gaming industry, particularly the MMORPG genre, by making games more accessible to a wider audience. Free-to-play, or F2P, as it's often abbreviated, is a business model where games are free to download and play. Revenue is generated through optional in-game purchases, often cosmetic items or gameplay enhancements. This model stands in stark contrast to the traditional pay-to-play model, where players purchase the game outright or pay a monthly subscription fee. The emergence of free-to-play MMORPGs fundamentally changed the landscape of the genre. Before this model, the barrier to entry for many MMORPGs was quite high. The cost of the game itself, coupled with monthly subscription fees, made these games inaccessible to many potential players. Free-to-play MMORPGs changed this, allowing anyone with an internet connection to dive into these expansive virtual worlds. Guild Wars and Runescape were among the first MMORPGs to popularize the free-to-play model. Guild Wars, released in 2005, offered a novel approach. The base game required an upfront purchase, but there were no subscription fees, and updates were provided free of charge. This hybrid model paved the way for future MMORPGs, demonstrating that there were viable alternatives to the traditional pay-to-play model. RuneScape, on the other hand, was entirely free-to-play from the beginning. Released in 2001, it offered players the option to upgrade to a premium membership for access to additional content. This model was a resounding success, proving that free-to-play MMORPGs could generate substantial revenue while maintaining a large and active player base. However, the free-to-play model wasn't without its challenges. Critics argued that it often led to pay-to-win scenarios, where players could gain significant advantages by purchasing in-game items. Balancing monetization with fair gameplay became a new challenge for developers in the MMORPG genre. Free-to-play MMORPGs made the genre more accessible to a wider audience, but they also introduced new challenges. As we move forward, it will be interesting to see how the industry continues to evolve and adapt to these challenges. We now arrive at the modern era of MMORPGs. The current state of the genre is a fascinating mix of the new and the old, a testament to its enduring appeal. On one hand, we have the rise of mobile MMORPGs, a natural progression in a world where smartphones are increasingly becoming our primary gaming devices. These games have brought the genre to a wider audience, with simplified controls and streamlined gameplay that are perfect for quick sessions during breaks or commutes. But even as we embrace the convenience of mobile gaming, the allure of the classic subscription-based MMORPGs remains strong. Games that offer vast, immersive worlds, complex mechanics, and deep engaging storylines continue to draw in players willing to pay a monthly fee for the experience. The sense of community, the thrill of exploration, the satisfaction of character progression, these are elements that have defined the genre since its inception, and they are still very much a part of its appeal today. And then, we have the exciting innovations shaping the future of MMORPGs. Virtual reality, for instance, promises to take immersion to a whole new level. Imagine stepping into a fantastical world not just through a screen, but as if you were truly there. To interact with the environment, to engage in combat, to communicate with other players, all in a way that feels more real and tangible than ever before. The potential is staggering, and developers are just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible. Yet, as with any genre, the modern era of MMORPGs is not without its challenges. Balancing accessibility with depth, managing player expectations, dealing with issues like toxicity and cheating, these are just some of the hurdles that developers have to navigate. But despite these challenges, or perhaps because of them, the genre continues to evolve, to push boundaries, to redefine what's possible in the realm of online gaming. Despite the challenges and changes, the MMORPG genre continues to evolve and captivate audiences around the world. Before we end, let's recap what we've learned about the history of MMORPGs. We started our journey with the dawn of MMORPGs, where text-based games ruled the roost. These early games set the stage for what was to come, sparking a revolution in the gaming world. Then we moved on to the pioneers of the genre, who dared to push the boundaries of what was possible. These trailblazers paved the way for the golden age of MMORPGs, a period when the genre experienced unprecedented growth and popularity. We also explored the emergence of free-to-play MMORPGs, a model that opened up the genre to a wider audience. Finally, we delved into the modern era of MMORPGs, marked by the advent of mobile and VR games, which have taken the genre to new dimensions. As we've seen, the world of MMORPGs is a rich and fascinating one, full of innovation, creativity, and a shared sense of adventure. Who knows what the future holds for this dynamic genre?